Hey guys, this is Riley. Today I'm going to be talking about the Michael Jackson movie and is the Michael movie good? I know this is a little bit of a different setup. I'm trying something more, comfortable, and my computer is tweaking really bad. I'm trying to, stay in the flow of recording. In relation to my last video, Michael Jackson, this video is about the Michael movie. Would you have guessed? This is not scripted at all. I just have stuff in the dome that I'm gonna unleash onto you. I can't make a video about the Michael Jackson movie without going to watch the movie, so let's go to watch it. And now you're back here with me. Hopefully you have watched it yourself. I'm going to be talking about the things that the Michael movie does good and the things that is bad. I don't think it's a horrible movie. I've watched it more times than I can count on my hands. So if anybody's qualified to talk about it, I think I am. Kidding. But I have watched it a lot of times, too many, spent way too much money. I can include all the photos of the tickets I bought way too many times. I thought I would talk about it because there's a lot of things that I enjoy about the movie, but there's also things that I can't help but talk about. Specifically with the behind the scenes stuff that they just released. I can put some photos with the Amazon Prime and the Apple TV release onto streaming platforms. My experience in the theater the first time, it was great. First time I watched it, entranced, amazing. The performances were great. It felt the pacing was great to me. It was like every time I thought the movie was going to end, it just kept going. I mean that in a good way. Like I wanted the movie to continue, and it did. After I've watched it multiple times, I've started to have a few pet peeves with the movie. The pet peeves being the movie itself, not the theater. Although the last time I went into the theater was very muggy. I started sweating, and then it would get really cold. And there was like guardrails, and the wall had a tarp on it. I used to work in a movie theater, and it was bad like that, but it's sad to see other movie theaters starting to deteriorate. And going into the movie theater, every time Joseph Jackson or Michael's father would show up on the screen, some guys would be in the back like, "Hey, hey," and they would just yell. And there's just like certain notes in the movie that I will touch on later, but for now, I'm going to stick to the good things about the movie that I enjoyed. For one, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, Jafar Jackson. So, if you don't know, Jafar Jackson is Jermaine's son. You would assume, oh, it's a Jackson, it's like nepotism. In a way, it probably is in a little bit of a way, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I think that he outdoes that. Like, the amount of dedication that Jafar had put into this role is genuinely, like, admirable. Like, you can see, especially with the behind the scenes that they released, all of the hours he genuinely put to this movie for a year. I think he's been practicing since around 2022, which is just insane. He worked with some of Michael's dance choreographers, Rich and Tone. Like, he has the Billie Jean performance down frame by frame. But I was just like flabbergasted by, like, you really do, like, even though some parts of it looks like Jafar more than it does Michael, it doesn't really matter because his mannerisms and ways he's able to like blend himself into Michael makes it more natural than if it was like just Michael, if that makes sense. I'm glad that they mixed Jafar and Michael together in a way and didn't like overdo it. But sometimes, oh boy, did they overdo it with the CGI, and I'll get to that. Props to Jafar Jackson for the amount of dedication. Pretty sure he practiced Billie Jean for 3 years. Just being a Jackson, like, not to be that guy, but I do think that is one of the better choices they could have made, choosing a Jackson to play Michael Jackson. I mean, it would have been bad to get an impersonator. All I can think of impersonators is Fabio and Rico Jackson, which is just like, if you don't know who that is, look it up. I prompt you to go search that. In a way, there was a lot of pressure behind Jafar. I mean, it is his uncle. Michael Jackson was his uncle, so there's sort of this like legacy that I think he felt he had to live up to. But in light of that, it led him to really play Michael very well. He also just sounds so much like him. It's like a beginning part in the movie where it's like you first see Jafar and it's like his reflection in the glass, and every time I see it when I watch, I'm like, it just catches me so off guard. After watching, I can remember almost every line burned in my brain. I did to myself. I watched it like 10, 12 times. The number one thing I would say that keeps this movie together is Jafar's performance. Even when there's lacking in story or when it seems a little boring, Jafar keeps it going with such... And like, this is his first acting role. Like, that's crazy. First acting role ever. And it's this. And he did an amazing job. And I keep glazing the performance. But it was really good. I want anybody just to watch it because of Jafar's performance and dedication you can see. And how much, like, you really just start to see Michael when you're watching it and believe that's him and not Jafar. Little claps for Jafar. I think all of the other casting for the roles was very good. I think her name is Nia Long for Catherine. I think she does a good job, although I believe some parts her character is pretty flat. Like, you feel the motherliness coming from Nia, but it's not like... I mean, this is more of a writer problem. Like, she kind of just has nothing to her. She's just like, mother's tired. Like, I can't help but notice every time she talks in third person and always says mother before her. I don't know. That is something that I noticed. I feel like sometimes her character just didn't hit as much. I think in the hospital scene, that was probably the best. It's so weird, like, say scenes when these aren't real things that happened in Michael Jackson's life. I digress. But I think that was one of the more emotional parts. But other than that, she kind of just stares and looks kind of sad. No shade. I think that Nia Long, casting wise, with the looks and appearances, I think they did a very good job. And with all the brothers too, although like the Jackson 5, I think they ate it up. I think it's good to prop Jafar, but also I think the actors did a good job. Giuliano Valdi, the young Michael, he was so cute in the movie. It's just, like, he's so tiny, and it's just so sweet to see the dedication that he put into. And you can even watch behind the scenes, like, interviews. He also put a lot of dedication. You can also see, even at his young age, the amount of work he puts in. Also, like, the same problem with Nia Long. I think especially, like, in the beginning, Giuliano did a great job, like, being that young and conveying the dance moves of, like, the James Brown footwork and things like that, and showing young Michael's passion for music. That was great. And, like, he got the voice down too, especially when he's like there's like a press conference or something and they're like asking how old Michael is. Like, and his voice sounds pretty accurate there. But then it just gets to the scene where they're eating ice cream, and I can't help but the ice cream looks so fake every time I watch it. I'm just like, it looks like Play-Doh. I'm just curious how they got to writing that part. Another positive thing about the movie is just, the big thing about the movie is, like, that keeps me going back is the scenes where it's the music. It just does feel like you're in a performance, and I think that's a lot of reason why people like biopics in a way. It can feel like you're at a concert. I think that they did a great job with all of the performance scenes, and they chose really good ones. Like Bad, obviously, and Human Nature. Ben. I wish they had Ben play longer. For this movie going in, if you were trying to see the sweet legacy of Michael Jackson and like how his life is, you're gonna love it. And if you're a Michael Jackson fan, you're going to like it. And even if you're not, you'll probably like it because of the performances and Jafar's ability to convey things. But that's where it leads me to the kind of nitty-gritty of the movie and the things that aren't so good. There's some limits, I will say, that are like legal reasons that they just couldn't include. But it's definitely a glorification of Michael and kind of makes him seem like some sort of like deity or like God. And it's just like, that's not how it is. Like, he was just a guy that was super, super famous. And yes, he had money and had power and things like that. But he couldn't stop gang violence. In the movie, they make him seem like he just stopped rival gangs from existing, which was just like, I think it was sweet that they included the philanthropic things, like with him going to hospitals and things like that, but I think they didn't touch on fully things that made him more human. It was very much a movie. Like, it was very much like, oh, he's a character, like, oh, this, that, you know what I mean? I don't know. All leads back to the writers and the producers, which is John Branca. And I realize I've said his name wrong every time. Problem, like, John Branca is like, if he wasn't a producer, he was a director, I'll put it, but like, notice how he's the only one that had an A-list actor acting for him. And I didn't like how they made him seem like such a big role in Michael's life. I know Michael didn't always speak for himself in interviews, but I feel like they really made it seem like Michael like never spoke, or like every time it was a professional setting, like he got someone else to talk for him. Yeah, he probably did in some instances, but so many times where it's like a business thing, it's like, Michael's like, okay, you go. I also not like how drawn out the hospital sequence is. Every time I've rewatched it, it gets to the scene after for context, the hospital scene is like after the Pepsi incident where Michael has the burns on his head. So they're like, he's in the ICU for a few days because, yeah, he's like nerve damage. Yes, I think it's nice to include how much it impacted him by like using the time in the movie, but you don't need to do that to convey that. It was drawn out way too long. There was just like, we don't need to see John Branca giving him a Mickey Mouse stuffed animal. Like, nobody cares. I'm sorry, but John Branca is not a goat. I'm tired of this. But for context, the movie basically covers from Michael's career, like before his career started, where he was in Gary, Indiana, all the way up to the Bad era, And then the ending is a bad performance. There was a lot of things they had to cut out. Cut out Diana Ross, the entire Diana Ross thing, because, you know, she has some alleged allegations allegedly against her, being kind of weird to Michael Jackson. So she didn't want to be in the movie at all. Wiz was supposed to be in the movie, but they cut it out, and there's a lot of, like, there's, like, leaks of the makeup, but, like, the Wiz was going to be in the movie, and they were going to have Neverland Ranch, and there was going to talk a little bit about the allegations. The movie was, I believe, like, going to be, like, 4 hours long, but they had to cut out a lot of stuff for legal reasons. Hopefully, the next movie, they'll talk about those things. Janet Jackson wasn't in it. Reby Jackson wasn't in it. Like, I know it was their personal decision. Like, that is completely fine. You just forget that they even exist because they just completely ignore them in the movie. And that's just something I'm like, what? Like, if you've never known about Michael Jackson's life, you would have never even known that Janet and Reby existed. Quite frankly. From the timeline, Gary, Indiana to the bad era. So it goes over that. There's, like, these are, like, nitpicking things, but, like, they did not, okay, for one, the Havenhurst house, they didn't have it during that time era, and also, when they did go to Havenhurst, it did not look like that. Michael renovated it later, because, like, him and his mom, Catherine, liked that certain type of house, that certain type of architecture, and, like, I'll put the year that they renovated it, because it's not the same when they moved in. When he got Bubbles, also inaccurate. He got Bubbles near, like, the beginning of the bad era. For some reason, they did it right before Thriller, I think, or, like, right after he did Off the Wall, which was just, like, that's not when he got Bubbles. I know that's just a me thing, but yeah. That was also an inaccuracy. And there's a few others. I'm pretty sure he did not wear the striped pants in the performance during, like, in the movie, when he plays Human Nature with his brothers in the Victory Tour. He's wearing these striped pants. Pretty sure he did not wear them in that performance. He wore them once, but he absolutely hated them, said they made him look like a court jester or something along those lines, and he gave them to, I think, Randy or Marlon? I don't know. Jafar eats up the pants, though. Just kidding. But, you know, Jafar still wore the pants. I'm not sure what the costume design was doing around that. Also, inaccuracy, when he's singing Human Nature, that is from the Wembley performance during the bad era. I don't know why they chose different audio for that performance. I'm not complaining. I think the Wembley performance is, like, absolutely great. That's one of Michael's best live performances, in my opinion. But I just don't know why they did that. It was just, like, they could have included it. A little confused, a little confuzzled about that one. Going back to Beat It, in the movie they go over the making of the Beat It music video. There's a scene where Michael is doing something. I don't know if he's dancing, what he's doing, but one gang member that is, like, so much louder than everybody else.
That was tight, bruh.
He says, like, that's tight, bruh, and it's so loud. When I watch it, I always am waiting for that part because he's like, that's tight, bruh, and I always notice it every single time. It's just something that I think is quite silly to me. Like, okay, so these are, like, things pertaining to Jafar. For the movie, they did a lot of practical effects for Jafar because, obviously, yes, he resembles Michael somewhat, but not fully. They have a lot of the way that their facial features are arrayed on their face are very different. So Jafar had to wear a lot of prosthetic. He, like, wore prosthetic chin and a nose, and there's a lot of behind the scenes photos that just got released, so you can see that. I believe Bill Corso, the makeup artist, I think he did a great job. I heard someone complaining that, like, he wore too much makeup, but I don't think so. Michael Jackson in real life, like, you know, the real dude, he wore a lot of makeup on stage, and that was something he was known for. He, like, notoriously loved using powder, would cake himself up in powder. There's behind the scenes of him wearing powder all the time. His makeup artist, you know, Jafar couldn't have too much makeup on. I don't think so. I think it's fine. Because, I mean, honestly, and being an artist too, you're going to have a lot of stage makeup on. It's just a thing that happens. And also, like, Michael literally used Sharpies for his makeup. So, like, are we really overdoing it? Really props to the makeup artist, because I think that even, like, without CGI, I think it looks really good. Except for, like, some scenes with the prosthetics, specifically when Jafar is singing. During that scene where he's, like, eating popcorn with his mom and watching Charlie Chaplin during, like, Billie Jean performance or Motown 25, like, the makeup looks phenomenal. But there's just some parts where, like, I know you have to use CGI to make it look more like Michael, but oh my god. In some scenes, like, it was so much like, it looked so much like Michael, but the inconsistencies was so much. Like, there's some scenes where, like, it would look uncannily like Michael. And then the next scene, I don't know, like, it never looked like the same face. It always looked like something different. And I wish that they would have not did that. Like, yes, modify a little bit, but there was some scene where you could tell it was fully modified. Specifically when they're doing, like, the behind the scenes of Beat It. When I say behind the scenes, I mean in the movie, like when they're making the song. It looked so much like Michael, which was like really cool, but then it cuts to one where you can obviously tell that it's Jafar's face, and it was just unbalanced. They should have gone back and changed that. It was just a problem that I never could unnotice. Even when I watched it the first time, and completely blind, I was just like a little bit caught off guard. And there's a scene where he's in the car on the way to the Beat It dance shoot with the Blood in the Crips. There's a scene where he's in the car, and his nose is so small. That's Michael. He had skinny nose queen. The scene right before, his nose looks nothing like that, and then it cuts to him in the car, and it's like, oh god. It's just more daunting because the scene where he's shooting Beat It and dancing, Jafar's makeup accuracy to Michael, like, features blending with the CGI is so good. Like one of the scenes where I think he looks the most like Michael in a Jafar way, which is like more natural to me, and I prefer that. I think most people do because at some point it becomes quite uncanny. Just like that's my thing with the CGI. Some scenes it was just not that good. And also, not to be that guy, but to nitpick the movie, but we're sitting here. This is a commentary video about the Michael movie. There was just scenes where, like, the wigs were just... Jafar's hairline would change shapes. And the scene where he has the Monopoly board, like, he has a McDonald's hairline. And then the next scene, he has beautiful, brushed, laid down edges. How did we get to that? The change is so severe, and we're really getting down here. In Thriller, his hair is... like, Michael had a lot of... hair was really Jerry curled then. Like, and when Jerry curl is just really wet curl look, but some parts of Jafar's wig was really out there, like it's very voluminous, which if it was me, I would have, dampened the curls a little bit more, because I know that they used wigs for almost every scene with Jafar, at least had clip-ins to his hair, so they could have changed it. So also, oh my god, there's a leak, I don't know if it's for the recent movie or the next part he's wearing, it's like during the bad era. Oh my god, they extended, like, okay, I have a big forehead, but Lamar Jackson does not have a big forehead, but for some reason they laid his lace front like all the way back. They gave him at least 2 extra inches of forehead. I was reading the comments and nobody was saying anything about it, so maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the bad guy, but I couldn't get down with that. More inconsistencies. They make Michael's nose job seem because he wanted to be perfect and the best. Yeah, he did have a lot of body dysmorphia problems and was insecure in that way, but the reason he got his first nose job was because he broke it. They could have left that in there.
I know it was mostly because of the story and showing how Joseph's words had an impact on Michael and what he was willing to do because of that. But I think they could have played into that and how he broke his nose and mixed them together to make it more of a true story.
I'm glad that they put the vitiligo in there, and they let people know that he had vitiligo, and you can see it in scenes where he's in the pool at Havenhurst, or even in the scene where he's talking about getting a nose job. It's hard to talk about the inconsistencies of this in chronological order. Like, also just the whole thing of them making Michael seem more like not a human. That's the thing about a biopic, is you're supposed to kind of view the person more in like a humane light. If you really care, you're gonna view it that way. You're gonna view Michael as a human and be like, okay. Some people definitely go in this movie and understand Michael a little bit more, but I also think that it just capitalizes on him. That's a big reason that daughter Paris Jackson didn't work on the movie, because it kind of still builds this false narrative about him and makes him seem like a character rather than a person, which is just something that I don't like about the movie. I know it sounds like, I've watched it so many times, but I mean, after watching it, I kind of get my opinions on it. It's just a really glamorized movie. Yes, I think it's nice it shines on the positive things in his life and the impacts he left behind. I think it could have felt a little bit more human. Obviously, it's a movie, you gotta keep people entertained. I think anybody could see, if you really watch it, it kind of starts to really feel like a character rather than, a guy. With that, I think Jafar is able to bring that side of Michael out in the movie. He was surrounded by Michael's parents and also Michael for a little bit of his life, and just being in the Jackson family, he's able to touch on memories and ask people around him that get that inner circle knowledge, you know what I mean? I think Jafar was able to bring him back down a little bit, but also the writing is just a thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna make Michael not talk and get John Branca to say everything for him, stuff like that. I do think it was a nice touch though when they're in the office before he hires John Branca, that they added him drinking orange juice, because that was something that Michael always loved, was to drink orange juice. So there's some little notes of things like that that I think is sweet, or like him humming Smile when he's going through Havenhurst. He loved Charlie Chaplin. Speaking of the singing, like Jafar's ability to sound so similar to Michael. They blend his voice in the parts that's not a cappella, but the a cappella is just Jafar singing. And specifically when he's singing Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, it's just so good. I think he sounds so similar to Michael, and it's just genuinely like, whoa. You don't know that going in that it's a blend, or like what parts are just Jafar, so you're just kind of guessing. But when I found that, I was like, oh my goodness. Jafar has his own music, and a lot of it sounds like the way that his tonality is, it's very similar to Michael. Very interesting in his ability. He really got the voice down, I will say that. And a more positive thing too, I like how I don't think they used CGI on Coleman Domingo at all. And Coleman Domingo played Joseph Jackson in the movie, Michael's father. I really liked what they did with him. They didn't like try to overdo the makeup, completely change his face, because he doesn't look that close to Joe at all in real life. But they were able to mix parts of Joseph in Coleman Domingo's face. I just like when movies don't try to fully cover up the person's face, because we all know that it's not actually Joseph. We all know it's not actually Michael. So when they do kind of blend it in a natural way to like bring out Coleman Domingo's features or Jafar's features to make it look more like the person, I like that a lot more. I like that's what they did with Coleman Domingo, because when you see what he actually looks like, he does not look like that in real life. That means like that was enough. They only had to do that because it makes you seem like he looks enough not like Coleman for you to believe that it's Joseph. You know what I mean? I also think it's funny that Coleman's always like, he's always doing like, he's always mean mugging. You know, Coleman in a lot of interviews, he's like, oh, I tried to bring Joseph to light and like make you understand him more, but I don't think that he did a phenomenal job with that. Also, that goes back to like the writing. I think you can see kind of why Joseph was like that. He wanted the best for his family and wanted to like give them what he didn't have. But a lot of people I hear, they come out of it just feeling like Joseph is more of a villain. I mean, yes, he wasn't a good guy, but most people, I think it builds more of this villain character to Joseph rather than like, yes, he was an abusive father, but also he had reasons behind a lot of the things he did. Not condoning him at all. I think he was a very faulted person. Like, if I truly had to rate this movie, I would probably rate it like a 7.5 out of 10. I don't like rating out of 10. I'm a simple person. I like 5. So if I was to rate it out of 5, I rate it a 4. And yes, I'm biased, but I really do think that despite all those qualities that are like make it more negative or not, I do think that Jafar really brings the movie together. You can see the dedication to the role. Like, he genuinely gets all the dance moves down. Like, there's scenes like specifically in Bad, like there's a lot of the choreography that Jafar just freestyles, but you would never know because he just understands the language of Michael's dancing, like how to incorporate it naturally. That's something that you really admire about Jafar, because he puts himself into it, but in a natural way that makes him really makes you really believe when you're watching that, oh, that's Michael on the screen. And he just does a phenomenal job. And it's just crazy that's his first acting role too, especially like when he's in the car when Bill Bray is driving him and his chin is quivering. That was so sad. Like, I really felt sad for him in that moment. Like, I was like, oh dang. Yeah, I mean, I could yap about this movie forever because I've watched it 12 times, and I appreciate it a lot. Despite that, I would rate it a 7.5 out of 10 and a 4 out of 5, because there's a lot of things that keep it good. Jafar Jackson's performance really carries it, but the CGI, geez, that is a big fault in it. And just the glorification of Michael, I understand it's a movie, but I think they could have changed the writing in a way to make it more natural and not make Michael seem like a deity in a way, and that he make world peace, because he tried for that and he strongly advocated for things of that nature, human nature, but there was still fault in himself too. I think if they were able to keep a lot of the stuff that was legally taken out, it would have hit a little bit differently. I'm talking about what we got handed, what we were fed on the plate, what we were given, what we tasted, and what we watched. So yeah, I thank you for watching this video. I'm gonna keep trying to get in the flow of making videos. I really like it, and I'm trying to employ others to do the same. Follow your dreams, follow your aspirations. You are in control. Better late than never. Thank you, and please subscribe.